this is my chance to have that influence that anyone would like to have when you're doing something powerful and you want to share that gift with other people.
Welcome to Women We Should Know with international speaker, mindset reset mentor, author, and your host, Leslie Michaels. With audacious honesty and candor, the Women We Should Know podcast presents the wisdom and life-empowering insights of women who are the embodiments of innovation and social evolution. Please join Leslie as she shares potent conversations that will inspire your personal and professional evolutions.
How are all of you today? I am thrilled to welcome you back to Women We Should Know. This podcast was founded on the passion for conversations with women of every demographic from all walks of life. Women who are breaking through glass ceilings, who are creating new initiatives long needed and never seen. Women who are reaching out to other women to lift them up, to inspire them, to comfort them, to partner with them, to build collaborations. And we have just such a woman with us today. Sorche Morgan is the creator and founder of Hum Media LLC and the Hum magazine. She is a lifelong student and entrepreneur at what I can say, her very young age. That's pretty impressive. She holds a degree in psychology and she's finishing a second degree in communications. Discovering her passion for literature, art, and journalism, Sorche has been writing and publishing the Hum magazine for the last 8 months, which features local stories about people within the Taos community. And she's done some wonderful things with this magazine. During Black History Month, the whole magazine was about that. And then she had a magazine that was all about the seniors who were graduating. And oh my gosh, did they need celebrating after the last school year that they had. Sorche's mission is to improve communities through the power of literature and leadership. She is a member of the National Society of Leadership and Success Honor Society, where she participates in conversations and training on how to make a difference in the world, both externally and internally. And as those of you who tune in on a regular basis know, we're always talking about that internal journey because that is what shapes and curates our external journey. So I am so thrilled today to have Sorche Morgan with us. Hi, Sorche. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Absolutely. What I will tell you all, this local girl, yes, I know her from town, on the podcast, and you are doing amazing things. And I want to talk about those things, but I have a little tradition.
Okay.
Before we get going, I would like you to share one thing that is not in your bio that you would love our audience to know about you.
I'm sure we'll get more into this, but I'm just going to go ahead and start with this is, you touched a lot on women leadership and connecting with women. I'd love everyone to know that I have 7 sisters and 2 brothers. So I was raised with 10 kids with 8 girls and 2 boys. So I think that's pretty cool to know.
Absolutely. And yes, that's a lot of siblings to have. And I'm sure we will delve into more of that because Sorche has had the most incredible life. She has lived everywhere. She is a courageous gypsy who is never afraid to go to some of the most outrageous places just to see what's going on there, right?
You got that right. I really like that description.
You know where I'd like to start today, Sorche, is with something that I know you recently completed. Since I love this focus of lifting up other females, reaching out to other females. I know you just completed a program that you provided to young females in the town. And when I say young, I mean some of them were barely in their double digits. And you taught them how to use a camera, how to take good shots of a model, and then how to do an interview. And I'll tell you all listening, the young girl who she had interviewed me, well, I've had people who were in the business 10, 15 years who have not done such a great interview. So, Sorche, how did that come about? How were you able to give those young girls the freedom and the comfort and the safety to come forward in the dynamic way that they did?
Okay, yeah, good question, great question. So I'm the publisher of the Hum magazine, and I made it one of our missions to empower the youth. And I'm always looking for ways to get like someone on board. That's why we had a seniors edition, and I invite kids of all ages. I've had featured stories from people as young as like, I think like 9. So yeah, I love working with the youth. So when we were shooting our seniors edition, we had a few seniors come out from the high school, and we were also featuring a dancer who was also your interviewee. Am I allowed to say their names on here?
Oh, of course.
Okay, cool. So yeah, Emma Sophia, she's like so great. So she was featured in our seniors edition along with the seniors because she had gotten to a really prestigious ballet school. And, you know, she was so excited to tell her story. She was very brave. She came into the studio, you know, had her makeup done. And she really inspired me that says, hey, wouldn't it be great if the kids actually took over and I had like a kid edition? And it just so happened that her dad, Rosie Hyatt, is the director of a nonprofit here. And it's called True Kids One. So it focuses on kids and develop their development skills through things like film and journalism, and just a lot of hands-on activity to give young people and students the ability to get some new life skills for other career industries, interesting ones at that. And so it just like dawned on me there, and he kind of said something about it, but it really didn't fruition for like a couple more months. And when the time was right and we could actually pull something together, I was really inspired, and I really jumped at the opportunity. It's like, this is my chance. This is my chance to have that influence that, you know, anyone would like to have when you're doing something powerful and you want to share that gift with other people. So we made a 2-week intensive camp for journalism and photojournalism, basically everything that I do to publish a successful magazine in both print and online. So we opened this camp up to students from ages 9 to 17. It was offered to both boys and girls. And we had about 7 students sign up, which I was really surprised because I believe our max was 10. So 7 was really, really great that there were so many young, interested minds that wanted to do this project. I believe our youngest was about 9 or 10. So it was great that I had someone from like 9 to 17. So
that's quite the span in terms of emotional development at that age.
Absolutely. And I was like nothing short of surprised of what these kids could do. In the first week, we had the students, you know, we had the students try their hand at their raw talent. So they got to either write an article or interview someone who they thought was interesting, and kind of take that home and have that hands-on experience of writing before they actually got into the studio. They learned how to ask the right questions, and, you know, your composure, how to maintain yourself when you're with the person in the studio, and also just the basic layouts of what it looks like to design something that people will be looking at. How do you capture a moment and lay that out in such a way where people want to read what you have to say?
And
Really,
this is 9 to 17-year-olds learning this. That's
absolutely.
incredible.
That's the most exciting part because the first week, everyone's shy and you don't know whose personality characteristics are what. And so I believe by day 3, everyone was excited about it, and including myself, watching the kids come out of their shell as they realized, I think, the power that they had too, telling someone else's stories and asking these questions. And so by the second week, the students came over to the Hum magazine studio, and they got to learn how to do photography. They learned how to do lighting. They learned how to create a set, because my magazine's all about colors. So I showed them all the different backgrounds that we could choose from, all the different colors, and what that means when you're trying to create that impactful, meaningful picture. And we also had a professional makeup artist come in, because that's part of the Hum experience that we like to have over at the magazine. A little bit of Hollywood in this small town.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, when I came in and the one beautiful little girl was getting her makeup done, when she walked in the room, she was very shy, kind of a little bit intimidated, maybe. And then she comes back out of the makeup room and she's just a little bit taller. She's just standing just a little bit straighter. There was something very empowering for this. I think she was about 10 or 11, wasn't she? This 10 or 11-year-old to have that Hollywood treatment. I think that's brilliant that you added that in there.
Yeah, because we incentivize the students with a little healthy competition, that the article that was chosen, that particular student would get the whole Hum experience of, getting their makeup done, having a personal photo shoot, and being asked those questions of, who they are, why was this their topic, and getting that feeling. Because I remember being young and being like, when I first started being courageous and brave and ambitious, like so many people like said no to me, and there were so many experiences that I wish that I had, and then there were so many experiences that I did have that really changed my life, and those were some of the smallest experiences. So, giving this kind of, I don't know what you would really call it. You give them the sense of power, the sense of control of their identity in an instantaneous moment. So that's why we do it. Seeing the students come out of their show even more so in the second week with the photography, because everyone had a chance to get up on stage, whether you were a winner, and take pictures. We had about like 4 cameras going at once. It was insane, but to see everyone excited, and not only that, to look back at the photos and see that they were actually really great photographers. These kids nowadays, they can pick up stuff really fast, and they can conceptualize really fast as well.
Well,
And
and I'm sure that they had some really good instruction and tips from you beforehand.
yes, so we did have a guest photographer also come in. I do take all the photos for the Home magazine, but I wanted to get somebody else in there who knew the technicalities
Mm.
of photography. So we invited Augustine Fernandez to come out, who has a pretty big following. He's local, but he has like 6,000 followers. So he really printed out a step-by-step manual for the kids to know, what button does what and how you work it, more so than I can, because I'm just like a passionate photographer. I'm self-taught. And so the kids did get the technicality of that. And then putting that camera in there, because I was worried, like I thought that I would have to go back and retake the photos. But man, these kids, they learned fast, and their photos were unique and they were different. And to see life expressed through a child is just like one of those like amazing feelings, that it's like an honor, like it's good influence, because kids can either be negatively influenced or they can be positively influenced. And for me to like give someone like that pedestal, that stage, and that freedom to express themselves wholeheartedly is, you know, why that took place. So by the end of it, you know, you're with your interviews when you got there and the students were ready to take on, you know, the big interviews, the really important ones. Not only that, we had our state representative, Christina Ortiz, come in as an interviewee too, which was really powerful.
Oh, I'm sure. By the end of the whole experience, what was the feedback and what was the difference you saw in their countenance and the way they just walked?
So at the end of the course, the summer intensive, we did have each student write a feedback to us. And we had them all read them as we gave them a rose. And so they could finally feel what they felt. You know, not only were we receiving the feedback, but they were also receiving their own feedback. And
Oh,
each
that's so cute. It's it's a much more exciting to me version of the rose ceremony.
Absolutely. So it was really special. One student said that, you know, she would love an apprenticeship and she's only 12. And she said, I want to come back and do this like all the time. Sign me up. One student, she went day by day. She was like, and then like you could hear the excitement in her voice. By day 6, we were taking photos. And it's just like, you know, for her to remember such fine detail about her journey and then feeling that power and going through those memories again, that was very powerful. And then just hearing people say that, you know, they want this experience again and they were inspired. I was really very fortunate to be in that position and see, you know, what true like potential is and seeing where they take what they've learned and how they will progress forward.
And isn't that fun because you live here in this town? So you'll actually be able to kind of see where they go and see what they do as they progress, because in 5 years, you'll all still live in this town.
Absolutely. I used to be an assistant director for one of the children's plays. So I've seen a lot of these kids grow up and to see that, you know, some of them are teenagers now. And I continue to see them grow. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if it's because like I'm at that age now where I just like, you know, love kids and like want to help the youth. But it's just, you know, when you see that one, that you have something positive to offer somebody. You know, what I do is very meaningful to me. So if I can share that with other people who also find it meaningful, you know, I've done my job. But what more so to inspire through a child, because that could change their path of their life for the rest of their life, you know.
Absolutely. And on that topic, who were let's say two, let's just pick two. Who were the two great inspirations during your youth that helped you give yourself permission to travel all around the world, to found a magazine in your early 30s? That's audacious. And for our audience, I will tell you, although the magazine's only been around a while, it is being met with huge applause. It is already a success.
Thank you. I have to really think about that because I was homeschooled, so I didn't have like regular like access to the internet, and I didn't have access to cable and mainstream television. So kind of like everything that I learned that really inspired me was through kind of just like fantasy and imagination and you know, Disney movies on VHS that I've seen 1,000 times. And you know, there's so many great women that I could talk about, but when I think about, you know, that woman that was like that brave, that like, I would probably have to say like myself, and I would go as deep as to say just like an ancestral calling from women's time past, being so secluded, being so far out of reach of what real reality is it takes like a strong woman within to realize as she's picking up those pieces to go into those next chapters of her life. And I would say it was like the woman inside of me that I am now that I've always wanted to become. So
Mhm.
as I take it back, like, because, you know, I've traveled the world, seen a lot of different things, I've met a lot of different people, and I don't think I could pick just like two women because I've just met such incredible women that's inspired me to be more in tune with my natural calling.
You've already had 10 successful careers and you're in your early 30s
Yeah.
and you've traveled all over the world. As you've traveled all over the world, being a traveler myself, I know that I and other travelers I've spoken to tend to pick up themes that become worldwide and that we carry and we start noticing in every different culture that we visit. And they are themes that enrich us and make us, I would say, introduce us to new parts of ourselves. As you have traveled, have you noticed that as well? And what would you say is the theme you hold closest to your heart?
You know, I've been to like first world countries and I've been to third world countries. And I think like one of the best things that I love seeing is gratitude.
Mm,
Gratitude is just one of those universal things because gratitude is an experience and it is a perception.
mhm.
Because I went to Indonesia where like the women are doing hard labor with a smile, and every night they get dressed in beautiful clothing and bring flowers to prayer, and that's, you know, their greatest joy, their greatest form of gratitude, to just be thankful for what they have, you know. And then I've been to places like, you know, islands off of Italy where, you know, you're in a beautiful scene sipping on fine wine, and you know,
Yes.
kind of brings up that, oh, this is, you have gratitude for being able to be like in those moments of like either or. And then when you come back to reality in your real life, it's the gratitude that holds the glue to like who we are universally. And I think like no matter what we have, that we always need to have gratitude. And I had another one. It was just as great too.
Well,
Um,
I just want to repeat that. I want to be sure everyone heard that. I love that gratitude is the glue that holds us to who we are. I think that's a beautiful truth.
Patience is also a theme that just comes up a lot too.
It is. And it's something that I really hope by the end of this lifetime, I have some true grasp on.
I say I do pretty well in that area mostly. And maybe I'm just like born with it, but patience is like one of those things. I like, don't get me wrong, there's some days that like I'm impatient, but that's just because I believe that I've been patient enough. But,
Oh, yes, I know how that goes too. I tend to be far more patient with others than I am with myself, which is actually, you've studied psychology as well. We know this is a broadly represented trait in women.
absolutely.
Hmm.
And sometimes I'll just give myself like a 5 minute like timeout, and that's like my form of practicing patience.
Hmm.
But like in places everywhere I go to, because you know, um, speaking on your question, like just going to like a place that has like you're rushing to the airport, all these different things, and
Hmm.
then you notice that you're patient in like certain cultures and not in other cultures, you know.
Right, 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 right. Hmm.
So also when you come back to reality, those things are kind of a repeating theme because your body recognizes, like if you travel a lot, your body like recognizes those changes. So when you're kind of idle and kind of in the same spot, those themes reappear and you're like, okay. And you have this different way of navigating them. And I always choose the words response and reaction because, you know, patience is also a response or reaction. Like, am I going to react to this impatient, I'm going to respond. So I have
Hmm.
to have enough patience to always choose to want to respond by letting myself have enough time to process.
Right, right. In keeping with the theme of traveling around the world and finding those threads that connect us as humans. In this case, gratitude and patience, but there are other threads. What is it that you still have on in the horizon, on the horizon, in your sight line, in terms of where would you like to go and what would you like to do?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot actually, because I'm a gypsy by nature. I love to travel to new places, and I just want to go, go, go. But I've taken the last few years to really like anchor myself down. But I often think about that. I would love to visit more third world countries. I think those have been some of the most interesting, not because, I want to be some sort of savior or missionary. I think that just having that experience and learning how people in those cultures like thrive in
Right,
those kind of environments. And I see myself eventually maybe having some solutions or some answers just by having that experience, because I think one of my greatest passions in life is also like helping people, helping
right,
the world. I'm just one person, but I have this big dream of like changing the world so people can live better lives. And I
right.
think to only know what's going on in people's life, you really have to experience it. So I would just like love to see if there were areas that I could just bring a part of myself and like, make those lasting impressions that changes the way that people see themselves and want to do things. I also just, want to see the world. Like the world is so big, and living here in New Mexico has made me really want to go and seek out other Spanish cultures, like in Spain,
Mm,
uh, Barcelona, spending times in other areas of Mexico. Uh, I've done a lot of Chicano studies as well, so it
mhm.
would be really, really great to kind of connect those like history dots. I really grew up on history, so I've been like to all the like ancient places, and
Mhm.
Egypt. Egypt is number one on my book, so yeah.
Egypt is phenomenal. You speak of wanting to visit more third world countries. One of the things that I've noticed and that others I've spoken with have noticed about themselves is that when they go to third world countries and they witness the gratitude that you spoke of, for instance, in Indonesia, the gratitude that these people experience in their lives on a daily basis and the joy that they express on a daily basis while seemingly having so little, there's a level where they actually have more. And I find that when I come back to this very wealthy world that we live in, that I actually do it with a whole different sense of humility and a whole different sense of value. Um, have you experienced that? Is that part of what you're talking about when you reference the gratitude and the patience and the desire to visit more third world countries?
Yes. And I would say that, being born in America, you also have a negative effect when you go to those
You
third
do.
world countries, because it makes you a little bit more greedy. And then
Yes,
you get these different perspectives and ideas about yourself that aren't so true. And that can kind of lead you down like, the wrong path. And, I'm speaking from experience. Um, but nothing can take the experience of what you learned in those third world countries when you're experiencing someone have so less. Because as an American, I'm like $1 million babe out there, it costs, $7 to get a massage. Like you get kind of like this, you know, kind of like this like ego thing, and maybe like kind of like this like surrender thing. You're not really sure where you stand, but I think you know, the humility that you were talking about is very there. You know, if you're a good person, if you have like, if you have true passion and true care in your heart to help people, you know, which I did, I had to come back to America several times and fight with that side of myself, getting
Mhm.
these ideas out of my head that more is better.
Right.
I already know that less is more.
That's right.
You learn your lessons through those, you know. Um, thing about being a gypsy is when it gets rough, you pack up and move. You go
I
somewhere
know
else.
that song well.
You just go and you opt for a different experience. So, you know, I was moving a lot. You know, I had much, I had less.
Right.
And you always think about those experiences like, oh, if I can go to this third world country and see how the whole country is still alive, eating rice every day,
Hmm.
like, why am I so down and out and thinking that I have less than everybody in the whole world? You know, it's this thing that just like circles around back. And I think, you know, they say it's the layers of the onion. You got to go through all those layers
Right.
and go back. And some of it's like internal things that we go through and we haven't addressed within ourselves because we were so comfortable with this idea of this world that we think that we're living in. You don't know the world that you're living in until you experience. You know, you don't know what a banana tastes like until you've eaten a banana.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like the old story about the fish in water.
Mhm.
The fish doesn't know that it lives in water until it's taken out of the water. And but one of the things that you said that I find fascinating, and I see the truth in it, and I've experienced this myself, but I'd never languaged it as clearly as you did. And that is the need to go back to those third world countries every once in a while, just to kind of get myself in check, just to kind of come down off of the adrenaline high of the wealth that we are surrounded in this country, and to get grounded in a different kind of way. I remember um, the first time I went to Thailand, and you spoke of the $7 massage. And I was traveling with a friend who'd been there many times. And she counseled me on how much to leave as a gratuity because she didn't want me to leave too much and cause offense. And you just learn so many little things as you travel through that kind of a world, don't you find? The idea that a particular gratuity could be an offense is foreign to Americans.
Yeah, in Japan, you're not supposed to tip at all. It's actually like an insult.
It
It's
is
like,
an insult in Japan. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, even places like that, because I've been to Japan and Japan is like so populated. There's so, I'm not like into politics, so I don't know what their system is based on. But when I visited, you can see everyone going to work, traffic goes one direction, and then like after work, traffic goes the other
That's
direction.
right.
And there's an obvious like wealth gap, you know, but it's not obvious, you know. They say only the rich people drive, and so it was just like this other thing, and then their culture is like service, and then it's just like you can't tip even if you wanted to. And
Mm-hmm.
like in places like Indonesia where it was customary to tip, like what you said, over tipping them, like I remember giving someone in Indonesia like a $10 tip in American dollars, but it was like 100,000 rupees or something like that. And it just blew his mind. And it was
Mm-hmm.
just like seeing his reaction gave me a reaction. I'm just like, what do you mean? It's like, it's $10, it's fair. But, you know, for them, like, because, you know, the currency rate and everything. So it does bring you back around. But like I said, like, going to all these places, it's just not to like get you humbled. It's like it's a kind of a directional tool. It's like an internal compass because at
Right.
some point you're going to have so many experiences, and you're going to have to kind of have like a moral duty that lies within yourself. Is, you
That's
know,
right.
now your power. How are you going to take the influences of your life and exude that in the things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why there is so much greed. And then on the other extreme half, we have like so many minimalists. It's like it's these choices that we have to make.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or that we get to make.
We get to make, and we're very fortunate to make. And so I'm very fortunate that everywhere that I've been has positively impacted, who I already was inside, and has ignited those things within me that gives me confirmation that I'm in the right direction and I'm
Mhm.
becoming the best version of myself to offer as much as I can to as many as I can.
Right. Right. So that's what's on your horizon for travel. You'd like to go to see some more third world countries, go and recalibrate in the way that that kind of travel does, go to more Latinx oriented cultures. What about your creative vision? What's your creative vision that's still on the horizon that you know that you are proceeding toward, but you are just a few years away yet?
Yeah, so I'm musically inclined. I love music. Grew up drawing. I grew up making like small little films and videos and clips and stuff. And so when I started Hum Media LLC, I also had a dream of opening up a studio of, maximum self-expression. I believe more people need to learn how to express themselves, whether it's through art or music or just going on a rant in a video,
Mm-hmm.
setting that stage and that tone for people, because our town is very artistic,
Mm-hmm.
welcomes artists of all kinds. And I've been just kind of under the radar, shaping myself and my talents to see where it is I can offer my creative art, because it's like obviously different. Not everyone here publishes a magazine. Not everyone sees like art through literature
Right.
and photography in the way that I do it. So getting closer and building those connections within my community to see where those creative pursuits will be useful is like what I'm on the prowl for.
Maximum self expression. I think that is amazing. I think we need those all across the country. And then we could, get all this stuff that's inside out in a way that is productive instead of
Absolutely.
harmful. Now, you spoke of when you were a kid making your little videos and things. What would you say is the most significant thing about you would like to share that would give people an understanding or an insight to who Sorche is and how she came to be this individual she is now?
Right. So yeah, my mom had 10 kids, and then we moved to like Tennessee and Georgia, and we lived on the border, so we used to go back and forth all the time. I think that's where I learned to travel, because we were always on the road going somewhere. Being homeschooled, you have the ability to basically learn what you want to learn and have your own kind of educational freedom. And then I think like I grew up on about 10 acres, so I had a lot of room to run around first and foremost. And being so close in age to my siblings, we were like young kids with high imaginations. You put 10 of those in a room, just think, and your siblings, so you're all kind of alike and you're all just kind of at that crazy age. And so I think like the most wonderful thing about like my experience is having like a small community
Right.
develop. I'm developing, and being as creative as I'm creative, because we were all similar, we like the same things, so we could actually really creatively thrive. We would build forts, bow and arrows, we would build boats and just go sailing down our creek after large storms. Like the things that we were able to do as children, being homeschooled in the middle of Georgia. It was just such a great experience. Now, every family goes through their hardships, and it wasn't always easy, because
Of
that's a whole
course.
story in itself. But I think that that togetherness with my siblings is what made me, because we were all musicians, we were all writers, we were all painters. And with that comes like healthy competition, against a certain.
Sure.
So, that causes a lot of like gut building when you're all that and there's like
Hmm.
so many people, and for survival. We used to buy our food wholesale. And you had to hide food around the house. It was like this whole dynamic of.
Sure. Survival of the fittest.
Mhm.
Where were you in this scale of 10?
So I'm number 4. My mom had 4 girls, and then before she had her first boy, and then she had 3 more girls, and then a boy, and then a girl. Yeah,
So there's one boy in all of this,
there's 2 boys.
2 boys. Well, they still had to feel outnumbered.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I remember like dressing my little brother up in his dresses, and we all just like had a really good time. I don't think that we really noticed like the gender thing
Sure.
either, because once again we were we were sheltered. We were sheltered, and it's really crazy for me to see that now because I've so well traveled and I've been places. But going back to that time, I can take my physical mind back there and
Sure.
remember how limited those walls were, but such an explosion of creative expression. Like,
I know we started today with how much fun and how fulfilling it was to work with these young girls, these young females, and helping to mentor them for a season. As you go forward, I know you have a heart for uplifting people and particularly uplifting women. What is your vision, or maybe just a tiny piece of your vision, for how you would like to bring that into broader play as you move forward?
I think that along my time in travels, I think like the relationships that are missing are more female connections. Um, I've met a ton of people along the way, but one of the things that I often come back to is like my connection, my long-standing connection with women, and how do I create a space, because there's all this competition.
Mm-hmm.
Women feel threatened, and I've unfortunately have seen that side of reality when it comes to like working with other women. I don't really like to acknowledge that or feel that uncomfortable because I know it shouldn't be that way, but unfortunately it is. And so that's why I also do the magazine and do it the way that I do. That the professional makeup, because like I want to create a safe space for women.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I have to figure out like I don't want to be threatening, and maybe women shouldn't say that about themselves, but I want to show women that I myself am not threatening, and I want to invite women into my space and say, hey, it's a safe place. So often when you work with me, I'm a pretty serious neutral person, and I give people full space to be themselves and express themselves. And that's what is most important to me, because I think females don't have a lot of trust with other females because I think we're taught not to, that we're just all in
That's
competition,
right.
courteous. And so it's this feeling inside, this natural thing, we hold this guard. And so I feel that because, I've studied psychology and I'm a very emotional person myself. And so I read body language. I also study, language, the words that people choose and the
Mm-hmm.
way that they say them. So I try to pay extra attention to those things, and I move things around within myself to like open that space. And it does work. And it's a beautiful thing. Now what I'm wanting is to open up a space where I can work with many women at once, because I love working one-on-one, and that's mostly what I do through my interviews and stuff. I work one-on-one with people, but I would love to see more groups like women's circles, tea circles, mom circles of women, like we see on TV. There's reality shows about it, that women can be great friends and they can all come together and join in conversation and just speak about whatever. And I think that that would make, even the world a better place, because women
Yes.
are a very important part of society. You know, we live in a very, I don't know if I'd say it's misogynistic world,
Yep.
but I think that a lot of women have the answers if women just went within and connected more with other females, because there's so much, you know, physiologically, biologically, and psychologically that a woman goes through in her whole lifetime that are such extremes, you know. And I think that if we harnessed that feminine energy that they say and come together and spread that love, we could do like a lot of healing.
Absolutely. Well, I'm right with you because, you know, that's my thing, is bringing women together there. And we come to this as we start to wrap up. There's so much to think about, and you have given our audience so many nuggets and so many gems that they will be able to carry forward with them. And I thank you for that. As we come to a close, we are also coming to an opening. The world is starting to open up. The great female of all of us, Mama Earth, sent us to our rooms for about 1.5 years to think about what we were doing. And now we're coming out. What is your vision for yourself moving forward as you come out, carrying whatever gifts that you received during COVID?
Well, that's a good question, because I see myself coming out very strong, very passionate, and very compassionate. Um, we all saw what this last 1.5 years did to us. So the best that I can do as we all step out into the world, you know, restrictions lifted, is wear my beautiful smile that I've been wearing, carrying my beautiful spirit, and being more brave to embark on those things that my original journey was when I started traveling at just 18 years old. See as much as the world, connect with as much as people as I can, and create bridges, like long lasting bridges. And I have to consider myself a piece of that bridge. We often want to build the bridge, but we forget that we're a strong part of that bridge's foundation. So implementing myself within this bridge between like community and individuality. How am I going to offer myself and integrate with my community and really make those long lasting connections and connect those missing links?
That is beautiful. And I really appreciate the point you bring forward about the fact that we want to build these bridges and we forget that we are an integral part of the bridge. That's really important to remember. So thank you for bringing that forward. Thank you for bringing your unapologetically confident self forward throughout our conversation today, because I'm a huge advocate for the fact that we as women must become unapologetic about our brilliance, about our gifts, about our talents, about our capacities. And over the years, I've seen that far too many women are afraid of that. And they speak to, oh, but isn't that arrogant? Well, if you go too far, it can be. But if you find that really beautifully centered place within yourself, it's not arrogant. It's self-respect, it's self-honoring, and is an invitation to everyone around you to consider themselves more respectfully. So as you go back through this podcast, as you, I'm sure, re-listen to get that one special nugget or those two special nuggets that speaks directly to you that Sorche brought forward, I invite you to take those in and become more unapologetically yourself. On the program notes, as I always do for you all, on the program notes that will give all of Sorche's information, we will have her URL for her magazine. We will have whatever contact information she would like to provide. Do subscribe. do share, and do leave comments. Because here at Women We Should Know, when we receive comments, someone will forward those to the guest. And the guests we have on are wonderful people who are always very responsive and enjoy that interaction with each of you. So click, subscribe, and comment. And as we close today, I just want to remind you, you are smarter and wiser than you know.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you received inspiration for expanding your own social innovation and influence. Help us inspire others by sharing this episode and leaving your comments over at lesliemichaels.com/podcast. For more tips, insights, and support in creating a fully audacious, professional, and personal lifestyle you love, visit our Women We Should Know community on Facebook.